Welcome to Young Money with Tracy Bissett, the advice show for young millionaires in the making. It's time for some $1 Million Straight Talk with Tracy, President and Chief Financial Fitness Trainer at Bissett Financial Fitness. Each week, Tracy's going to tell you what you need to know now at the beginning of your earning curve. Basic and advanced financial concepts made clear, healthy money habits and the missteps to avoid, and all the stuff that you can do to set yourself up for a future of fantastic financial freedom. Ready to lace up and start this week's financial fitness training? Let's do it, Tracy.
Welcome to the Young Money Podcast. Really excited today. We have a very special guest, Nadine Cino. Welcome to the show, Nadine.
Tracy, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here with you.
So Nadine is known for her irrepressible entrepreneurial spirit, is an impassioned sustainability thought leader, speaker, and writer. Over the past 25 years as the Chief Executive Officer and co-inventor of TygaBox Systems, Nadine, along with her partner Marty, have transformed the moving and storage industry. Their invention, the TygaBox System, has saved its customers $100 million in reduced moving costs, eliminated 1 billion pounds of cardboard from landfill, and saved 100 million trees from being destroyed. Powerful impacts from a simple box. Nadine is honored to be the recipient of the following awards: 2013 International Women's Entrepreneurial Challenge Award, 2014 winner of New York SmartCEO Brava Award, and 2017 included on the Women to Watch IoT list for her role in the development of the item tracking products. TygaBox Systems was a 2018-2019 SheEO funded venture in the U.S., and SheEO launched in the U.S. in 2016. So she is one of currently 14 U.S. ventures in the network. So welcome again, Nadine.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I really appreciate the time we're spending together and the opportunity to share some of the lessons I've learned along my journey.
Excellent. Well, I'd love it if you can start by telling us a little bit in your own words, really more about your business and the business model and how you got started.
Well, okay. How I got started, I was actually an accidental inventor. I formerly had a very successful design consulting studio with international clients, and I love traveling all over the world to meet them and create apparel collections for them. Then, back in 1991, I got everything I deserved when I hired a low-price mover who held our freight hostage, charged us several thousands of dollars over the budget, and justified the expense because we needed more boxes to pack our belongings than they had estimated. In 1991, like many places in the world, there was very little in terms of municipal recycling or other types of sustainability programs to address the extraordinary waste that was created by that move. And essentially, I found myself facing the ugly door of an incinerator in 1991, literally throwing thousands of dollars of cardboard boxes down the chute to be burned up. And I saw my money burning up. And because I am half Cuban and half Italian, that translates into 100% Latin. And boy, I can tell you, us girls can get into a snit pretty fast. And so I actually also, Latinas tend not to simmer down all that quickly. So we're going into hours into the afternoon where I'm still fuming about the waste, not just the financial waste, honestly, the sustainability waste. When you think about the life that those trees gave up, right, to make a stupid cardboard box that was used one time and then incinerated. It just the material waste, natural resources was offensive beyond belief. And then when you just think about what was it for? A silly little designer pencil that I bought while I was in Italy that I needed to move 6 blocks. The degree of destruction and the value that was tendered by that box were so imbalanced. I, over dinner, continued ranting and kept talking about how someone ought to have a business where you could rent a reusable plastic box as an ecological alternative to cardboard. And over dinner that night, we kept listening to the idea, and my partner Marty, who's also my husband in life and the light of my life, said to me, you know, if you'd stop ranting and listen to yourself, you have a really good idea. And that night over dinner, we did not follow good business planning strategies. We just kissed and we said, you know what? We're going to do this. It's a good idea. We're going to be the ones who do it. And so we did. We invested our life savings. We almost went bankrupt 3 times. We were plagued with what we didn't know because we didn't do a proper marketing study, a proper business plan, a proper anything. In one way, because we were just passionate about the idea and we just knew it would work. There was a gut feeling it would work. The second thing, though, is that there was actually no model for a reusable container of any kind in the industry. And so we wouldn't even know how to create that model. What we did know is one thing: efficiency compels markets. And because TygaBox was simply a more efficient way to move, and we helped companies reduce their moving costs by, on average, 30% as a result of our system design and our system materials, we knew that it didn't matter if they cared about sustainability, green of the planet. We knew they would care about the green in their wallet. And we were right. And so we were able to kind of put together a recurring revenue stream. And so the model is pretty simple. And so many people today have heard of software as a service or phones as a service or this or that as a service. We were doing boxes as a service way before it was a popular approach or a popular financial structure for a business. And so we were able to displace cardboard boxes because even though our asset cost 20 times more a cardboard box, because it lasted 2,000 times longer than a cardboard box. So what we understood is that because cardboard box, which is cheap, call it $3, and it can be used maybe 2, maybe 3 times, at most 4 times, because the material is weak and it starts to not protect the contents any longer. With TygaBox, even though it cost 10 times more, $30, right? We knew we could re-rent it 2,000 times. And so when you take a look at what is the value equation of having an ROI on an asset, and in 10 uses, we've made up the cost of acquiring the asset. And then every 100,000 reuses is pure cash flow. Granted, there's a little overhead for managing a warehouse and staff and blah, 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 not unlike any other normal business. But the idea that you could invest in an asset and offer it on a fractional reuse basis to customers, again, ahead of its time, on demand, right? Because when companies are moving, that's the only time they care about containers. After that, they just want to get rid of those containers and go on their merry way. So our model was to really create a fleet of reusable, rentable boxes that could just be re-rented to any customer for however long, however short they wanted, at a price that was comparable to the cost of purchasing cardboard. So that's why we displaced the cardboard box. Business and office moving, because since our system is strong, it stacks higher. Since we invented a dolly that allows people to pack directly to the dolly, we eliminated all lifting of heavy boxes. Well, who enjoys lifting a heavy box filled with cardboard, right? No one. So we created a customer experience that was unparalleled because no one lifted a box unless it was empty. Because it was empty, we could actually stack it 5 high instead of 3 high like a cardboard box, because if you pack above that, the bottom box starts to crush because the material is weak. Ours was strong. That's why it's called Tiger, right? So now you've got 5 boxes in a single footprint instead of 3, and everyone on the show now can do the math. We eliminated 40% of the stacks, elevator trips, truckloads, and labor to do a TygaBox move. That is how we were able to, on an average basis, save our customers 30% of their move costs. Commercial moves are expensive. On average, they're $100,000 to $300,000 a piece. You save a third of that, pick a $200,000 move job. We just knocked $60,000 off the cost of that project just by one change.
Which is a meaningful
Totally.
amount of
And
money.
this is why, as a sustainability thought leader, I always encourage anyone who's interested in being truly a sustainable business is to make sure you are minimally at the same price as what you're replacing, and better if you can be at a lower price and a compellingly lower price, because people do not change their behavior. We're addicted to our habits, and people do not make sustainability a new habit until there's a compelling reason, which is usually speaks money first. That's why, right? And that's why. So that's really not
Absolutely.
only the underlying business model of TygaBox, it's additionally the new technology that we've developed to kind of layer on top of TygaBox is TygaTrax, which is an RFID tag that can be attached to any item, including a TygaBox, and keep track of it anywhere in the world from your cell phone. And when we looked at RFID and how it was primarily predicated on permanent installations and site surveys and the entire cost borne by a single user, we said, wow, this is a perfect old model for us to disrupt again, because we offer our tags, just like our boxes, on a reusable, on-demand basis at a fraction of the cost of an RFID system that's installed permanently. And so we're now just very, very early stages penetrating the market, resonating with customers who understand the value of tracking and the value of having it for only as long as you want at a fraction of the cost. So we believe heavily in fractional reuses of assets and being able to offer anything as a service. It's been the main foundation of our business models, both of them.
Well, I think that's fantastic. And a few things that came out to me as I was listening to you. First and foremost, your passion for efficiency and doing things in a better way, but also passion for the environment and doing something that would be sustainable, and just trying to be smart about how can I save money. So I think all of those things together really led to the formation of what you got. And then really compelling what you said is that it's got to make sense for the person you're going to sell it to. So you've got to disrupt the industry in a way that the case is just so obvious that they want to do it whether or not they're caring about sustainability. So I think that's great. A lot of times people forget that when they're doing something that's good for the environment, trying to create something sustainable, that it's still got to make money. And it still has to be a winning proposition for the clients, or as you said, they won't change their behavior.
Thank you. Yes. So my little mantra is hashtag make reuse a habit, because it all stems from reusing the same thing over and over and over again, whether it's the box or the tag or whatever the tag is attached to. Keep reusing it. We want to shift our mindset from such a disposable economy into something that's far more respectful, frankly, even of ourselves. It's tiresome and time consuming to keep buying stuff and consuming it. It's really better to buy something valuable and cherish it and enjoy it. There's an emotional thing you get out of it.
Absolutely. I certainly have heard some key success factors as you've been talking, but I'd love it if you can share what you think have been some key themes or key success factors that have showed up in your
Well,
life
thank you,
repeatedly.
Tracy, for acknowledging my passion. And I would say that is probably, it is still, in my opinion, the number one source of energy that will get any entrepreneur through whatever the journey looks like. And no one can ever anticipate truly what the journey looks like. And just two perfect examples very quickly. I mentioned that we almost went bankrupt 3 times trying to make TygaBox happen. And we were so broke, and we had to see a molder in the middle of Wisconsin, in the middle of nowhere in the middle of Wisconsin. And so we were so broke, we ended up flying to Chicago because we couldn't afford the extra flight to Madison. It to get a little closer to this factory. We rented a car in Chicago and drove all the way out to some place in Wisconsin, probably about 6 hours or something like that. Landed in the evening. We had a meeting in the morning, and we knew we would have to drive pretty much through the night and maybe catch a cat nap for 2 hours or something if we were lucky. And because we were broke, we actually had no food either. So I figured, well, if we could just get something like fat and sugary, that ought to hang us in there for a while longer. So our favorite ice cream to this day is Ben and Jerry's Moose Droppings, because it has chocolate, it had caramel, it had swirl, it had all the fat and sugar anybody could possibly, and it worked. We're just like little mice in a Skinner experiment. Fat and sugar works. We're just well, enough caffeine in the coffee, and we were good to, and in the chocolate, and we were good to go. We made our meeting. We convinced the molder to take our project. And why was this an important meeting? Because we were out of money. We needed to find a partner who would actually allow us to build the tools on speculation and then amortize the cost of the tools over the cost of production. So instead of charging us $350,000 for the tools up front, I borrowed some money from my dad, friends and family, everyone. I borrowed money from my dad to give them a down payment, and they agreed to take the rest of it on the back end. And we successfully launched TygaBox, literally with my dad's pre-advancement of my inheritance. And that's exactly what he said to me. I'll never forget him for that. He said, look, I could just give you the money when I'm dead, but I'll give you $100,000 now to see what you're going to do with it while I'm alive. It should be interesting. And that's what he did. Rest his soul. He always believed in me, and that's important. So yeah, that's how we did it. So the thing is you want to take a look at what are the opportunities that are non-cash that you can also leverage in order to move your dream forward. And so I highly discourage anybody from getting to the brink of having to eat moose droppings in order to get to Madison, wherever it was, Elroy, Wisconsin. However, it is exemplary, though, of the passion. It was the right thing to do. It was important to save trees, and that's why we did it. And that's why we weathered every opportunity. We celebrated every opportunity and weathered every storm after that. So one of the things I would like to share, because we did this a little bit haphazardly, I would like to share with your audience the value of planning your business more intentionally. And in addition, when you get your business started, focus on your chart of accounts. I know it sounds as crusty and dry as, oh my God, how does that have anything to do with my dream, right? It has everything to do with your dream. Because if your dream is at all going to be sustainable, it needs to be profitable. And if you don't understand how you make money and where your profits come from, you have no way of actually steering that ship to greater and greater heights and truly being able to scale your idea. So avoid, this is all about the things I did that you should not do.
So I'm going to jump in there just for 1 second, because we have a lot of young money listeners who might not know what you mean by the chart of accounts. So just to go back to basics, and I can explain that. So when you're in your accounting system, so number one, you got to get an accounting system. You're setting up the way that you're recording all the transactions that are going on in your business. And when you do that properly, as Nadine has said, then you actually know where you're making money and where you're not making money. And certainly, as she's stated, when you know that, then you can scale, you can make changes, you can actually be in control. But when you don't know anything.
Beautifully said, Tracy. Yes, thank you for that. And so following up on that, a good number of accounting systems have the ability to convert your numbers into little charts, little pie charts or rectangular charts or whatever. And what you're going to see is some customers, you're going to want to also look at how much time you spend cultivating a customer, because the value of that customer to your business. And many times there's a very simplistic look. The look is, how much profit do I make from each customer relative to the amount of time I invested them? That's great. It's a nice, simple formula. It's a simple subtraction, and boom, you're done, right? reduce your COGS, you take out your COGS, your cost of goods sold, for those in the audience who aren't familiar with some of the acronyms. So cost of goods sold is a very important thing you're going to want to look at in your business, and it's oftentimes referred to as COGS. And so you always want to see how many of your customers are actually generating more profit than what you're investing in, not just your time, but also your overhead and whatever other things you're contributing to make that account work. There's something else, though, that I learned about value of a customer, the lifetime value of a customer. How many of your customers are referring you to other customers? Once your customers are enthusiastic about what you're doing, I cannot overemphasize the value of having them and asking them. That's another thing entrepreneurs need to ask. Ask your customers for referrals. Well, they'd be happy to. They're happy with your service. You've done everything well. Maybe you've actually exceeded their expectations, which is something you always want to strive for. Ask for those referrals, and your business can grow exponentially just by making the ask. And so, a chart of accounts not only shows you the numbers of how you make money, but it also gives you the possibility of adding in some of those esoteric components so you really understand who your best customers are. The other thing you want to ask your customers is, why do they do business with you? What would they do if you weren't in business? Who would they go to? How would they otherwise fill the need that you're filling? That is really telling, because that's in those responses are your next generation of product or services. And so, again, your customers are such an incredible resource, and just use them as best as you can.
Well, I think that's fantastic. And certainly anybody who's listening, this is excellent business entrepreneur 101 around numbers and how you actually grow your business. So thank you, Nadine. A lot of times people are not talking about these things. And a lot of times people get overwhelmed when they think about their numbers and they just kind of put a block on it. But you've just explained to us how, when you've got your numbers set up, I recall you telling me you didn't have them set up in a chart of accounts when you first started. And so it took you a little bit of time to get to this place where you could really leverage your numbers and then dive into that customer facet, which is the reason you're in business in the first place, to satisfy those people and to keep bringing them things that they're happy with.
Absolutely. So it creates an ecosystem within your business to understand the foundations of your money.
Excellent.
Hello, Young Money listeners. You know that I love to talk about cash flow on the show. This episode of Young Money, featuring a fantastic entrepreneur, is sponsored by the masterclass, Can I Afford It? How to be certain of what you can and can't afford in your business in 5 minutes or less every time. This training has been specifically designed for entrepreneurs with sales in the 6 to 7 figure range to provide the 5 steps to cash flow clarity. If you are an entrepreneur with sales at these levels and want to make powerful money decisions, you do not want to miss this important masterclass. Head over to visitfinancialfitness.com/afford to register now. Stop asking yourself the question, can I afford it?
Now, you've talked to us a little bit about 3 times almost went bankrupt. Not sure if that's what you want to talk about, or if there's been any other turning points or big financial challenges or something you wish you'd known a little bit earlier, either in your personal life or in your business life.
Oh my goodness, that's so far away. No, I don't really care. I think I just remember, Moose Droppings ice cream is sort of like the highlight of that chapter. I think that one of the things I would like to share is planning your business, and there's a plan A. And then a lot of people talk about, well, make sure you have a backup plan B. So I'm going to offer that there's another way to look at that. And so the turning point in my business was actually realizing, for me at least, that plan B was a parachute that potentially gave me an excuse for why I didn't succeed. So when you think about that, what happens when you develop a plan A and you have a plan B right behind it? The mindset usually says something like, oh, well, if plan A doesn't work out, I always got plan B. Not as good, blah, blah, blah. It's okay, whatever. Okay, fine. So is your life and your passion about plan B or plan A? So I have a position, and I've taken this throughout my career as an entrepreneur, and oftentimes it creates a pretty hairy, scary ride. I stick to plan A, and I stick to plan A, and I keep working on plan A until it is either works or it is so obvious that this is indeed the path to ruin. Then when you look at where you're at, though, because you've taken plan A and you've developed it for X point, right? Whether it's 1 month, 3 months, 2 years, whatever. You've been following this path of plan A. And because you were so intent on creating plan A, what you've done is you've attracted whatever those resources are you need to execute plan A. So by the time you look at something and plan A and say, okay, it is pretty obvious. This is the road to ruins. We need to make a different plan A. You now have resources available to you at that moment in time that you would never, ever had if you had followed plan B. And so you're always able to create something new, a new plan A, from a plan A that's obviously inappropriate. And that is how I feel we've been able to push and gotten as far as we have and continue to make headway in a market where, frankly, there are PhDs galore of electronics engineers. They're all looking at the electronics. They're not looking at the customer and the customer's pain of losing something in the middle of a move. And the customer really doesn't care if I have a PhD in electronics. They just want a tracking tag they can rent that works and return it back to me after we've been able to demonstrate to them that their stuff is safely in the new location. That's all they care about. And so it's interesting how oftentimes the outsider view and the ability to have such a firm belief, whether it's passion, and it can't be just passion. That's kind of naive. It has to be passion tempered with reason and experience. But I truly encourage people to consider the timeline. If you start a plan A at moment 1 and it has a backup plan B immediately at moment 1.5, when you get to point 50 on your timeline with plan A and you're running into trouble, it's too tempting to pull out plan B and just say, okay, well, we'll just do this. But if you get to point 50 and you're saying, well, plan A is giving me trouble, but I'm going to continue on plan A because I understand that there's still something here that is positive, maybe you take plan A all the way out to point 85 on the timeline. And at 85, you've attracted resources between points 50 and 85 that you would never have had if you put plan B into place at point 50. That's the numerical way of describing what I mean by, don't be an idiot and take plan A till you're bankrupt. But at the same time, be reluctant to start out with a plan B. It's just, it's an easy out.
Gotcha. Oh, that's
well, at
really
least to me,
sense.
Other people, plenty of intelligent people would argue my point. So I just want to say it's my opinion.
Well, and certainly with 25 years experience in this business and making it work, I would say your opinion carries lots of weight because you've lived that philosophy and you've made it work.
Yes, that is correct.
Lots to be learned.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about inspiration for financial matters, is there anybody out there, whether in your family, whether somebody you follow, or anything, anyone in particular who gives you that inspiration?
Well, Tracy, I think I'm going to answer your question a little obtusely, and I'll tell you why. So one of my greatest heroes of all time is Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi.
Mm-hmm.
And why I admire these two men so much is because they, more than anyone else that I have seen in our recent history, except maybe, and Jesus Christ, you could say, except I don't want to interject religion in here. So let's just stick to modern political leaders. They have both exemplified the power of attraction, the laws of attraction. Because what they did is they inspired their followers with a vision that was so powerful to their followers that no matter what the individual agenda was of each one of their followers, the dream that those two leaders painted was so big that they had to follow it. So when you take a look at them, if you abstract it and you just take a look at it again as an accidental electronics engineer, look at them as magnets, right? Each one of those followers is a little piece of flint, but they become like a magnet. And as there are more followers, the magnet gets stronger and stronger and continues to attract more followers. What as a business owner are you really doing? You're looking to attract customers. What if you, rather than selling somebody something, you were to instead be that magnet, that you're offering something that has so much value, that is so compelling, that they just have to say yes? What if you could be that kind of leader? So there's tremendous power in the passivity of being the magnet rather than the seller, if you will, if you can understand that and that difference. And so to me, those are the people who have my greatest admiration. And yes, I'll acknowledge a Steve Jobs and a Jeff Bezos and whatever. And you read about what goes on and behind the scenes, and I understand you can't make everybody happy all the time. Both of those leaders, though, have reputations for being horrible human beings. So who do you want to be? At the end of the day, you get to choose who you want to be and how you want to grow. And growing your company is just an extension of how you want to grow yourself.
I think that's an important lesson for everybody to keep in mind who's listening, whether you do have a business or you're in some kind of corporate career, you get to choose how you grow and how you live your life and the kind of person you're going to be. So excellent advice.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, before I let you go, I'd love it if you can share a little bit more about what you're working on next, and certainly where our listeners can go to learn more about you.
Okay. So I mentioned a couple of times in this conversation, although not very concretely, that we're taking the experience of moving, which is what our boxes support, and understanding the pain point within that process is that people feel pretty anxious about where's my stuff. I mean, if anyone in this audience has ever spent time looking for stuff, and if any of you are like me and it's triggered your 4-year-old self, then you understand the value of having a tracking tag that can create a window of visibility that you can see your stuff anywhere, anytime, literally anywhere in the world from your cell phone by just putting an electronic tracking tag on it. And you can have that peace of mind that comes with knowing where your stuff is. Or you could have the peace of mind of getting an alert that says, hey, your stuff is going out of range, or hey, your stuff is being moved at 2:00 in the morning and it's not supposed to be. And so we took, again, this is all about developing what are the pain points the customer experience. Now that we solved one problem, we made it cheaper and more sustainable for them to move in a TygaBox than a cardboard box. Now, what are some of the other things they experience? Well, they feel anxious. What could we do about keeping track of the boxes? And that's really how TygaTrax was born. So although it may not happen to every entrepreneur, I have to say that coming up with the name Tyga, initially for the boxes because it's strong and fast, has turned out to be an amazingly versatile symbol for strength and power, because tigers are actually some of the most efficient tracking animals in the animal kingdom. And so it's a very easy parlay from TygaBox to TygaTrax. And of course, when you're building out your brand and creating brand extensions, you always want to stay true to the core values. In our case, it's reuse. And then every product and service you build around that is exemplary of your core values done in a different way. So in one case, the box is a container. In the other case, tracking is an electronic technology. It is really something that we've worked on, oh boy, a way long time. anticipating the day when technology would catch up to our vision for having the ability to simply track something from your cell phone, but in a powerful way, not like there are some tags out there, I won't name companies, but they're kind of limited. They have a 30-foot range and things like that. Our TygaTrax goes to a range of anywhere from 30 to 50,000 square feet. So it's pretty powerful industrial strength stuff. And so this tracking tag, you can just apply it to anything. It'll report directly to the cell towers or to your cell phone, and you can see it in real time and protect it in real time. You can rent it for as long as you need to, which is the other benefit of our model, fractional reuse at a fractional cost and getting the full benefit of a permanent system. So you can learn more about TygaBox simply at TygaBox.com. If you go to the TygaBox website, you'll see a tab for our products, and under our products, it'll show you a tab for TygaTrax. And because we're still very early, it'll tell you something about TygaTrax. And this is a journey to be continued, and we're excited about being able to share with you some of the customers we've been able to help before the end of the year. So thank you for that.
Perfect. And certainly we'll include links to the website and to your social handles all in the show notes. So people can, who are listening, can just click on the link to find out lots more about Nadine and TygaBox. Well, that's wonderful.
Right. And as a final note, this is completely coincidental. It turns out after we had launched TygaBox, many years into it, all of a sudden I found myself celebrating my 50th birthday in the year of the Tyga. And I was just like, oh my God, talk about the abundance of the universe and how things come together, right? So there's the tiger in me, there's the Tyga in our products, and then I find out from a completely different culture, I was born in the year of the tiger. So that's totally really rocks.
Well, thank you for joining me today. I know that I'm taking a lot away, and I'm sure our listeners are as well. I really appreciated the candor with which you spoke about how the company was started, really the lack of planning and the suggestions that you had for potential entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs who are out there listening about how to do it a little bit better way. But I think what came through so strongly is your passion, the idea that this needed to make money, and so that you could compel the customers to try it and get them hooked on your product while you were making money, but also helping the environment, which I think is fantastic. Loved your perspective on plan A versus plan B, and I think it gives us lots to think about. Also appreciated the story you shared about your dad who gave you the investment to be able to get your tools on spec and then amortize those costs. When we listen to stories of a lot of entrepreneurs, we hear how friends and family were so instrumental in helping them get the start. And so I like that what you said and what he conveyed to you about kind of being the pre-advancement of the inheritance to see what you were going to make of it. So I think all of that's fantastic. So thanks so much for joining us today, Nadine.
Oh, thank you, Tracy. I really appreciate your time and look forward to collaborating together the next opportunity.
Super.
Okay.
So there you have it, listeners. Nadine Cino, CEO and co-inventor of TygaBox Systems. She shared so many great insights with us today. It was like a masterclass on entrepreneurship. So check out the website and social handles to follow them and see what else they're up to. Until next time, take good care and stay financially fit.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. To all you millionaires in the making out there, if you love this podcast, please subscribe on iTunes to keep your financial fitness training going. Oh, and leave us a review. And be sure to visit 2 S's, 2 T's, financialfitness.com to take your free financial fitness assessment. Find out how financially fit you really are. See you next week, young millionaires to be.